Okay, let's talk about Code Vein 2, shall we? I've put more time into Code Vein 2 than any other game this year, and I can confidently say it's been a miserable experience doing both a review and a walkthrough for this game. Very early on, it becomes clear that this is a game borrowing heavily from Elden Ring without understanding why that game worked so well. It then decides to embrace the worst kind of narrative convolution associated with the Kingdom Hearts sequels. The problem is, Code Vein 2 then crowbars both of these together without really understanding what makes either of those games work on their own. When you combine that identity crisis with performance issues, unstable frame rates, and deeply repetitive boss design, Code Vein 2 quickly becomes one of the most disappointing big budget releases this year. And yes, I know we're only at the start of February, but for now, Code Vein 2 proudly proclaims the crown. And that's a real shame, because on the surface, this should work. Code Vein 2 builds on what made the first game likeable, with a wide range of weapons, plenty of build options, and a world that initially feels expansive and layered. You really do feel like it's hiding secrets worth uncovering, and a couple of side dungeons are genuinely well designed. But the longer you spend with this game, the more those surface level strengths start to fall apart. Now, the story here is set in a post-apocalyptic future caused by a catastrophic resurgence a century before the game begins. To stop history repeating itself, you're sent back in time to hunt down 5 legendary heroes, rewriting key moments in the past to save the present. Each chapter follows this same structure, where you jump back to a specific point in time, complete some hero-specific tasks, earn their trust, fight alongside them, then return to the present to defeat their corrupted form. On paper, that's fine, but the problem is, the game never evolves beyond that rigid structure throughout its 30 to 40 hour playtime. As the hours stack up, Code Vein 2 starts to feel deliberately padded. Cutscenes regularly outstay their welcome, only for NPCs to then repeat the exact same information again in static text form. The most egregious of this comes from Holly Sanatorium. There are also some genuinely baffling missions here, where like one has you run across a huge area to visit 2 hot springs, sit through cutscenes, then run all the way back again. And unfortunately, dungeon design suffers in the same way. Some of the longer runs, like the descent beneath Pioneer Castle, drag on far longer than they should, padded with empty traversal and recycled encounters. That's before mentioning the invisible walls, which crop up quite a bit. Despite having different exteriors, most dungeons do tend to blur together into the same gloomy metallic corridors and oversized rooms. By the second half of the game, the asset reuse becomes impossible to ignore. There are familiar layouts, repeated enemies, and even recycled boss mechanics. The final hero's arc in this game is especially egregious too. You're literally repeating the same steps you've already spent 30 hours doing, including refighting the same bosses just to unlock the endgame credits. Visually, the game struggles to sell its world. The art direction leans into a more washed out, desaturated palette, clearly chasing the bleak tone of Elden Ring, but it never finds an identity of its own. The muted environments do clash quite a bit with the bright anime style characters, and stiff animations only make that disconnect more noticeable. The character creation doesn't fare much better either, because although there is a lot of customization and options to choose from, female models in particular suffer from rigid hair, clipping issues, and inconsistent quality across the cast. Mechanically, Code Vein 2's combat is at least functional, which I guess is good for a Souls-like. And of course you have light attacks, heavy attacks, dodges, parries, and special abilities. Ichor is where the game comes closest to carving out its own identity though, which allows you to infuse weapons, buff your partner, and experiment with elemental attacks. There is genuine fun in mixing and matching abilities, and Forma adds another layer on top of that, from long range options like the longbow to supportive magic. When everything clicks, the game briefly hints at the depth it could have had more consistently. And the partner system actually works quite well though, because allies genuinely feel useful here, mixing ranged and melee attacks in a way that genuinely helps. Unfortunately, almost every single fight in this game is undermined by the camera. Now, large enemies, tight spaces, and narrow corridors are definitely the Achilles heel of this game, and the camera constantly swings, clips into geometry, or zooms too close to your character. This becomes especially frustrating because of the game's hit windows. You see, when you're knocked down, your vulnerability window opens before you're fully back on your feet. Combined with fast enemies and multi-hit combos, it's incredibly easy to get stun-locked to death without any realistic chance to react. And no, this isn't a get good moment, this is a genuine issue that the game sports throughout its entirety. Now of course bosses should be the highlight of any Souls-like, and although there are a few standout additions, especially Hero Xenon, that fight is excellent, they're also one of the biggest letdowns. Now most of them rely on the same jump slam attacks and short combo strings, and many can actually be cheesed by standing at range and firing longbow shots while the AI slowly walks towards you. In fact, sometimes they'll even stand still and let you pepper them with arrows before they actually go back into their animation again. To be honest, in most fights the real challenge isn't really the boss, it's more the camera and the recovery window. Now of course alongside all of this, performance issues are impossible to ignore for this one, and at the time of writing, Steam has a whole range of different reviews complaining about this. Now even on a high-end setup, I currently have 32GB of RAM and I'm currently playing on a GeForce 4070 Ti, the game regularly stutters and struggles, especially during fights in rippling water. I've had a number of different issues playing this game, including animated problems, frame rate drops to a ridiculous level, and a few times I've even had freezes where I've had to hard reset the game. Now sound design is similarly underwhelming here, and coming off the excellent score from Memories in Orbit, which I played previously, the drop in quality is particularly noticeable here. Now much of the music is flat and forgettable, with only a handful of moments really standing out, and even those wear thin quickly. Honestly, whoever composed the Undead Forest track, that should 100% be on a playlist for putting you to sleep. And don't get me wrong though, there are flashes of quality in Code Vein 2, but the game badly overstays its welcome. It collapses under repetition and never finds a clear identity. This is one Souls-like missing its soul. Thanks for watching, and do let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Smash a like or subscribe to the channel, your support is very much appreciated. I'm Greg Wheeler, and from all of us over here at The Review Geek, we'll see you on the next video.